Igor Lanis, 52 years old, was married to 56-year-old Tina Lanis. The couple had two grown daughters, 25-year-old Rachel Lanis, and 21-year-old Rebecca Lanis. Rachel, the older of the two daughters, recently started writing for the Jewish News. Her first publication was in July, titled The Jewish Dilemma. In her essay, Rachel writes about her Jewish journey and observance as a child and into adulthood. Both Rachel and Rebecca graduated from Jewish Hillel Day School in Farmington Hills, then went to public high school. The family lived on Glenwood Court near Maple and Bernstein Roads in the city of Walled Lake. Igor was a car designer. Tina worked at the Jewish Senior Life of Metropolitan Detroit. She was a certified occupancy specialist which provides Russian-speaking residents assistance with rental applications and government-required documentation. Walled Lake is located approximately 30 miles northwest of Detroit. Igor was a Republican who supported Trump. When Trump lost the 2020 election, Igor became obsessed, believing Joe Biden stole the election. He began watching large amounts of online videos, including far-right shows like InfoWars with Alex Jones. Igor's mental health began declining, and he insisted that family members watch videos with theories about 5G towers, the election, and vaccines. He believed that many of our world leaders were actually alien lizard people disguising as humans. Family members attempted to reason with Igor, but he would not budge. On Sunday, September 11 in 2022 around 4 a.m., an emergency call came into the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. A young woman told dispatchers she had just been shot by her father. Officers were immediately dispatched to the location but didn't have the exact address. They were speaking with a neighbor when they heard a gunshot. When officers approached the home, they noticed a young woman attempting to crawl out of the front door. Igor came out behind his daughter holding a pump-action shotgun, a Remington 870. He began shooting at the police. Officers returned fire, fatally wounding Igor. Upon entering the home, they located Tina Lanis just inside the door. She also attempted to flee the home but was shot multiple times in the back, killing her. Further into the home, officers located the family's dog. Igor had shot the dog multiple times, killing it. The couple's other daughter, Rebecca Lanis, was spending the night with a friend, and was not home during the shootings. Rachel was rushed by ambulance to the local hospital and treated for her injuries. She had gunshots to her back and legs. She is expected to recover but may never walk again. Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard said this is an unbelievable, horrific act. It is so sad on so many levels, but due to the response and professionalism of our dispatch, the Walled Lake officers and Oakland County Sheriff's Office deputies, at least one victim was saved. Sheriff Bouchard said that Lanis was a danger to anyone. He said Lanis had his keys in his hands and nobody knows where he was headed. After a thorough investigation, it was determined that Igor Lanis had an argument with his wife Tina, and decided to shoot her, the family dog, and their daughter. Rachel Lanis was spared only because she was not home at the time of the shootings. Igor Lanis had no criminal history and police had never been called to the family home until the night of the shootings. Tina's co-workers and clients at Jewish Senior Life of Metropolitan Detroit were devastated at her loss. JSL Chief Executive Officer Nancy Heinrich said, "We informed our staff of her sudden and tragic passing and provided trauma response team intervention counseling to staff and residents through the generosity of Jewish Family Service." She continued, "Tina was a much beloved employee. Her professionalism, compassion and warmth were appreciated by all her co-workers and residents, who considered her a trusted friend and essential support. She will be sorely missed by all." QAnon is an American political movement. It began with the far right in 2017. QAnon focuses primarily on conspiracy theories by an anonymous individual known as Q. A recent poll found that around 20% of Americans agree with QAnon's beliefs. That is roughly 40 million people. Around 15% of Americans believe that the government and media are controlled by a group of Satan worshippers who abuse children, and run a global ring for trafficking those children. And approximately 20% believe a storm is brewing that will get rid of the elites in power and seat the rightful leaders. They believe that true patriots may have to resort to violence in order to save our country. Although the majority are Republican, some were independents and Democrats. The poll found that 9% of the population in America believe that a microchip is being implanted with the COVID-19 vaccines. QAnon supporters believe Trump was defending the planet from worldwide satanic worshipping ring consisting of liberal politicians, government officials, and Hollywood celebrities. Since the movement began, it spread quickly around the world. The exact number of QAnon followers is unclear. Rebecca Lanis told reporters that her father became a different person in 2020 when Trump lost the election. She said her father started getting extremely upset at normal things, and would find ways to bring up conspiracy theories. She said, "I think that people need to focus more on radicalization, QAnon. If they have relatives with guns who are like this, you need to get them help, and they need to get checked into a mental institution, even if you think they're not dangerous." She continued saying right-wing extremism is not funny, and people need to watch their relatives, and if they have guns, they need to hide them or report them or something, because it is out of control. Rebecca said when she first heard of the attack by her father she was in disbelief. She first learned about the attack when her grandmother called her and asked if she was in the hospital. She said she felt like she was in a movie or a nightmare. She said she was really close with her mother and can't believe she's really gone. In a Reddit online post written by Rebecca, she described her parents as extremely loving and happy. She said, "In 2020 after Trump lost, my dad started going down the Q rabbit hole. He kept reading conspiracy theories about the stolen election, Trump, and etc. He always said he wanted to keep us safe and healthy." She cursed QAnon and said, "I hope the FBI tightens its grip on you, and your lackeys, and you rot in prison and hell for poisoning so many people." In the Reddit post she described distancing herself from her father after he became obsessed with QAnon. She said her mother and sister were too loving to think their father could lash out like this. She said her father would spend all day and night reading stuff on his phone and laptop, and would get really angry over the smallest of things. She said he was always carefree and fun to be around, but that was gone. His fun persona was gone. She said he started talking about 5G and EMFs being bad, and modern medicine being a sham. She said it was like he was possessed by a demon. She warned Reddit readers to not be afraid to cut contact and call for some help before it's too late. Numerous people replied with their own struggles with members of their family being obsessed with QAnon. They described their family members changing into someone they barely know. One response described how her now ex-husband became obsessed with QAnon. She tried to intervene by finding evidence to the contrary to help, but it only enraged him to the point he threw her out of the home. Another response described how her mother committed suicide the year before because of her belief in QAnon. Another response described how she lost her father to suicide after Biden was sworn into office. Many offered their condolences and ways to support her grief. Since 2018, numerous violent acts have been linked to the group known as QAnon. In June of 2018, an Arizona resident blocked a bridge near the Hoover Dam with an armored vehicle. Matthew Wright was unhappy that Trump hadn't made the arrests that QAnon had anticipated, so he loaded an armored vehicle with 2 military-style rifles, 2 handguns, and 900 rounds of ammunition. He later pled guilty to a terrorism charge and was given 10 years in prison. In December of 2018, a California man was arrested for being found with bomb-making material in his car. He planned to blow up a satanic display in the capital city of Springfield, Illinois. His goal was to make Americans aware of Pizzagate and the New World Order. In March of 2018, a 24-year-old man, Anthony Camello, murdered a member of the Gambino crime family. Camello believed that Francesco Carli, a boss in the Gambino crime family, was a member of the deep state. Camello felt that Carli was an appropriate target for a citizen's arrest. He believed he was under the protection of President Trump himself, and that he had the president's full support. Weeks earlier, Camello was in New York City attempting to arrest the city's mayor, as well as Democratic Congress members such as Maxine Waters and Adam Schiff. In June of 2020, Camello was found unfit to stand trial. The list of violent acts linked to QAnon supporters goes on to include numerous kidnapping attempts, murder, intentionally derailing a freight train, and many terroristic threatenings, including many to current President Joe Biden and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Central Michigan University philosophy professor Joshua Smith studies misinformation and studies courses in justified belief. He said that he was saddened by the situation which led up to the tragedy that happened in Walled Lake, but said he was not surprised. He said, "It's tragic, and all too avoidable. Unfortunately, lots of the discourse around these things is incredibly toxic," he said. "It's really easy to just start yelling at people when they disagree with you and when they think things are problematic." Professor Smith believes it's possible to reach those who have been sucked into the world of conspiracy theories. "One of the things I like to tell my students is when we're interpreting others, trying to figure out what they're saying, we need to do so charitably. The difference between a conspiracy theory and simply a myth is the fact that a conspiracy theory involves a group of people conducting secret deeds that infringes on the right of others or causes a disadvantage of others. A conspiracy theory lacks public, objective and verifiable proof. A myth is a story or fairy tale that usually explains natural events in a supernatural way. A myth cannot be proven to be true or false. It's hard to understand how anyone can believe some things as true, however the human brain is very complex, and understanding how it works when confronted with a conspiracy theory is paramount. Duke University cognitive psychologist Elizabeth Marsh and cognitive scientist Nadia Brashear at Harvard University co-published a comprehensive review of the current thinking in how our brains judge a piece of information as being true. Brashear and Marsh said that research found that humans inherently think that what they encounter is accurate and true, no matter the circumstances. That humans are mentally biased toward believing that what they encounter is factual. Humans are naturally trustful. The review found that what we confront in our day-to-day lives involves information that is objectively true, but in reality there may be lies mixed in, but it's not the majority of what we hear. The pair found that our emotional attachment helps solidify misconceptions. Our social emotions, such as gratitude, guilt, and anger, guide how we weigh our safety and welfare and that of others. Our emotions help shape our identities, and then we defend that fiercely, even when it's wrong. The pair found that when we encounter the same claim repeatedly, it becomes easier to believe. Political tribalism motivates human behavior. Humans derive pleasure from being a member of a collective group of like-minded individuals who share in our beliefs. Some people seem to feed on conspiracy theories more likely because of proportionality bias, which is the idea that the more larger an event is, the more larger the explanation a person seeks. It's the fundamental aspect of our psychology. It's more explainable to think something huge like the John F. Kennedy assassination was something much bigger than a lone gunman. Humans have a tendency to search for patterns. In his book, Suspicious Minds, Why We Believe Conspiracy Theories, author Rob Brotherton says, if you're more inclined to think about other people's motives, you're probably a little more receptive to conspiracy thinking. This tragedy was the first officer-involved shooting in Walled Lake Police Department's history. A GoFundMe was set up by Rebecca Lanis. In the campaign, Rebecca wrote, "On September 11, 2022, I lost my mother, father and dog in a fatal shooting perpetrated by my father. My older sister was seriously wounded and remains in the hospital. She was shot in the spine and the back of her legs, and doctors are unsure if she will ever be able to walk again. Any support provided will assist me in paying my sister's medical bills and will help us get back on our feet after this horrific tragedy. Over $71,000 has been raised. The money will be used to help with her sister's medical bills. A private service was held for Tina Lanis on September 11 in 2022, at the Hebrew Memorial Chapel in Oak Park, Michigan. Igor Lanis murdered his wife Tina and attempted to murder his own daughter Rachel after becoming engrossed in QAnon. Luckily his daughter Rebecca was not at home at the time of the shootings, and Rachel survived her horrific ordeal. However, it's likely she will never walk again. All because her father became so obsessed with a distorted reality. Who or what was at fault? Was it mental illness? Was it the group QAnon who indirectly caused this violence with their rhetoric? Or should we put blame right where it should be? On the person who pulled the trigger. There's always going to be far left and far right groups who believe all sorts of strange things in the world. No matter what someone believes, nothing excuses murder. Nobody has the right to take another life. And since most of the conspiracy theorists believe these groups are trying to harm others, and they want to protect their own family, isn't it counterproductive to then murder your own wife and daughter? There's no way to make sense of this tragedy. May Tina Lanis rest in peace, and hopefully Rachel will be able to walk again someday. Hopefully both daughters can get therapy and go on to live long, happy, and fulfilling lives. That concludes this episode. Keep your eye out for the next volume, coming soon. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.
Want to help support the channel you love, and get something in return? Simply purchase some Elizabeth's Chronicles merch. We have coffee mugs, t-shirts, sweatshirts, cozy blankets, beach towels, phone covers and more. Use the coupon code EC10OFF4U and get 10% off your order. The link to order is in the description area below this video. Thanks for helping Elizabeth's Chronicles continue to make the videos you love.